Good morning and welcome. You're tuned to the League Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast, and we head into Auckland Cup Day at Pukekohe on Saturday. Do we call it Auckland Cup Day, boys, or is it Bone Crusher Day? Or
Steamer Day?
Yeah, morning, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, very, very good. From Derby Day to, as you say, Auckland Cup Day.
Yeah, well, Derby Day was a beauty, wasn't it?
Certainly was. Whew.
Sharp and smart.
I think Roger's got a good one there.
Just ask him. Morning, Steve. How are you?
Yeah, very good, Thaddeus. The day lived up to the hype and some. I thought at Te Rapa last week, obviously sharp and smart, rewarding the punters that backed them into roughly around about $1.70, $1.60 off the close. But just from the start of the day, Babylon Berlin winning at a short price and dominating the King's Plate. The 2 3-year-olds and the Mufasa, the Intimidator, stacking them up and sprinting off a slow tempo. And now he is I think a deserving fave for a Live-In Classic, which has fallen away in the last 2 weeks, and also Secure a Girl, who climbed the betting order in terms of the Oaks after her win in the 2,000-metre Sunline Vase. So, look, it was just full of action right from the start of the day to the end of the day, and it was a fantastic day. And Legato, I'll get BP to mention on Legato, but Praser, unbelievable what he's done in the last 6 to 12 months, Praser, and I think that was his first Group 1 winner in Australia, Legato, the son of Praser. And look, I rewind the clock. I was reading a story during the week around Praser and the heights and dizzy heights he's managed to achieve in the last 7 or 8 years since standing at Rich Hill in the mid-2000s. I think 2015, 2016 he came here and Rich Hill purchased him, and there was 44 shares given out at 20k per share. One of those shares were up for auction during the weekend and was sold for over 200,000, so over 10 times its original price. It has climbed to Praser, which if you value the Praser at the start of when he came to New Zealand, it was roughly around about 800,000. But if you take it on the score of what the share sold for in the weekend, he's valued at close to 11.5 million. So look, we're seeing Zeverbiel, he's in the twilight of his career, and obviously Praser looking to take that vacant spot, years to come. Yeah,
okay. Let's head up to Auckland. I think we've got BP on track there at Pukekohe. Good morning, BP. No Warriors jersey, though.
Good morning. Might be great weather for playing some rugby league, and though, as we talk to you from a very wet Pukekohe Park. I'm getting drenched here myself, actually, with where we are, because this was expected. This was in the forecast that there was going to be some rain falling through most of today, and that might just have an impact on what happens here with the track condition. Of course, it's been hovering around that 5 mark, but if this rain, which is expected to be here for most of today, could have some sort of impact with what we're playing on for Barfoot and Thompson Auckland Cup Day. Yeah, what a week it was last week, as you mentioned, with Sharp and Smart winning the Derby. I think overall our 3-year-olds look very exciting for what's coming up throughout the autumn, as you mentioned with Legato's win in the Australian Guineas, a win where it just looked, you thought halfway down she was going to be unlucky again. Is she just going to finish into 3rd position? Once she got the split, she boomed through it. It was a massive moment, I thought, for New Zealand racing to see her win that particular race as a 3-year-old filly. But as I said, surely that sets it up now for our 3-year-olds that want to go across to Tasman and show their wares with what we saw in the first 4 runners across the line in the New Zealand Derby. They're all going to be serious hopes now, you'd imagine, through Australian Derbies and what happens after the weekend with Prowess, with her performance in the Bone Crusher, her likelihood of being there as well. So, yeah, I think it sets up for an exciting autumn with the riches across the Tasman. Yeah,
no doubt about that, Pops. Before we get to your Maidener of the Week, I just want to touch on the passing of Trevor Wilkes, a long time TAB commentator and employee. BP, that was sad news to see Trevor pass away, I think it was overnight or certainly yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, yesterday morning he passed away, and it was, I know it was still a shock for many that were a part of the trackside family that have known Trevor. I mean, he has been a part of our fabric for 40 plus years as a broadcaster, and a terrific broadcaster as well. Of course, he found his art around the greyhounds, but he was part of the racing community itself, was Trevor Wilkes. And look, just a genuine nice guy. We had some great get-togethers with our presenters and commentators days, and Trev would always lead the path towards the casino near the end of the night, that is for sure, with wherever we may be. But just a really lovely guy, and I think George hit the nail on the head yesterday. That he was just a guy who had no enemies. He was a well-respected man. and great at his craft, and for the longevity that he had as well in the commentary box. He really does need to be credited for that and respected for what he has done for this industry, and a real sad passing to hear. And of course his health went down quickly over the last few months, but we really are certainly thinking of his family at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Our thoughts with his family. That was sad news yesterday around Trevor Wilkes. BP, we'll come back to you. Maiden of the week, what have you found for us this week?
Look, I've gone to Taupo. There was a number of maiden races there. The horse that really caught the eye and maybe went, I thought this horse could win again. And I guess there's two things you need to look for with these Maiden of the Week performances, is A, horses in and around the maiden for the reason why you want to pick it and think that there's going to be 2 or 3 winners out of the race, or if you think the horse that can go on and win. Now, this one here, Slam Dunk, has got there really quickly. I thought the horse that's run into second position has set things up, and probably a horse you can back again, and there was a couple in behind. I actually thought it was a tricky week to try and find a Maiden of the Week, because there were a number that were sort of just, they did the job and did what they needed to do. So in a tough week, I thought Slam Dunk was the one that we went with as our Maiden of the Week in that performance during the week out of Taupo on Wednesday.
Yeah, nice one. Not always easy to make ground from back in the field at Taupo, Steve. And they put plenty on the John Bell train. I think it's Lebowski, double figures. That was quite a heavy losing result, so they knew what they were doing there. But Slam Dunk just getting over the top.
Yeah, the right race shape. They went out above even tempo to the 600. The last 600 was just fair, but Slam Dunk was in that position just worse than midfield, came down the centre of the straight and finished over the top of them. I thought Wonderloo, one horse that finished I think roughly 6th or 7th position, was last on the turn and got held up in the last maybe furlong or so. I think back to 1600 it had form around its business time leading into Taupo and went back to 7 furlongs, so maybe one horse that will be winning in the short term. And yeah, I thought overall there was some nice performances on the day. You had probably Ruby's Landed was the number 1 ranked performance on the day, and a rating 65.14, very good on the eye. Maybe one horse that will go through the grades in the next few months.
You mentioned 3-year-olds.
Yeah.
Polygon going around at Kembla Grange today.
Oh, right. Is that where Polygon is? What price?
$4.20 at the moment.
Okay, 1600
Kieran
metres.
McAvoy aboard.
Okay, what's her aim? Is she going Vinery, Steve?
Vinery.
We're thinking.
Vinery Oaks, yeah.
Okay. Oh, gee, you'd probably want to be on today as well. She's a talented filly, no doubt. Okay, that's good info, Paul. That's what we got you here for.
I don't think it is, actually.
No, yeah, exactly. It's not your brief, generally speaking. But anyway, good stuff. Polygon, what time? 6:55 tonight, Kembla Grange. Okay, guys, we're going to get to Pukekohe. Obviously, massive days racing, Steve. And, we've probably got a man on track that can tell us a little bit about track conditions. But what do you know at this stage about Pukekohe?
Well, you see there graphically, it's a good 4 currently. Rail back in the true position. So you go back a couple of weeks. You had those dual meetings in the space of 3 or 4 days. Avondale Cup Day was on the 18th of February. The rail was out 5 metres. That was on a good 4. And then backed up on the Wednesday, the provincial meeting on the 22nd of Feb. And the rail was out 7 metres that occasion. So the rail back in the true position. As we say, there's the odd shower forecasted throughout Friday. Race day, more importantly, is a nice day. So currently a 4. Hoping no worse than a 6 when the petrometer comes up tomorrow morning, and then hopefully for an upgrade later in the afternoon. But it all dependent on the rain that falls today. Okay,
let's get to the market. The first one we're going to look at is the Bone Crusher New Zealand Stakes Group 1. Over the 2050, Steve, this is an interesting little market.
Intriguing with the 3-year-old filly in the race, Prowess, who skipped the Derby and will take on the weight for age older horses. $2.40. The original price was $2.30. I'll just come back to her shortly. La Creek was the best bet run in the first, say, roughly 12 hours, Thaddeus. $3 we posted on Wednesday afternoon, now trading $2.80. Campanessa also well backed in that third line at $5. Defibrillate at $7.50. Asterix has been well shopped at $16 and then 31 each of 3 Chase, True Enough and the Mere. And just on Prowess v La Creek, now La Creek, as I mentioned, originally the best bet runner, but just in the last 12 to 18 hours, Prowess has leapfrogged La Creek in terms of dollars invested. So the punter's getting stuck into the 3-year-old filly, who, as I mentioned, opened at $2.30, now very solid at 2.4.
Okay, interesting, Steve. The map will be intriguing because we've only got 8 contesting it. How's that look?
I think it's fairly basic, Thaddeus. Look, I haven't made too many angles here outside what a lot of people, a lot of form analysts would have. I've got True Enough will go forward from an okay gate. La Creek, who's drawn barrier 4, will look to show intent. Whether she holds that leading position will be dictated by True Enough, but I got those two level pegging for the majority of the first half of the race. I think Prowess will show intent from barrier 2. She'll probably look to get that trailing position. The mare will come across from that, or the barrier 1, should I say. The mare will look to hold a position. I think the Prowess, the fact around her is that she can come across and sit out, one back. Chase and Asterix around that default middle section, Defibrillate and Campanese, I think both of them will look to go back in a smallish field. I think tempo will be even, but overall I've got True Enough, La Creek, 1, 2, depending on where they sit, remains to be seen. I think fractionally True Enough might show that initial intent mid-race, but Prowess looks to get a dream one out, one back.
Okay, if she can get there, Paul, she's going to be hard to beat off what we've seen recently. The last 2 wins on the fillies there at Te Rapa, and obviously the Karaka Million 3-year-old have been outstanding, haven't they?
They certainly have. We just keep talking about the 3-year-olds, and here we have a 3-year-old at the top of the Bone Crusher New Zealand Stakes market, and I think we're going to see her here first in the the fillies, the Classic, and she just powered away from her. It looks like they went very, very quickly over that first 600, and then came back to them slightly, but she was just too good for the rest of the field, and it was a very, very good field as well. So she's, I don't know what, she was third behind Legato last year, so there's a wee bit of form, to be frank there. As you say, she's got 3 in a row with the Fillies Classic, and then of course the Karaka Million 3-year-old race where she showed them a clean pair of heels once again.
Well, that was Sakura Girl in second, Steve, so that form's starting to stack up because she made light work of them, and I mean this one was incredibly impressive considering the strength of the field.
And the key is, if you look at her speed rating, what she produced this day in the Karaka Classic to what she performed in the Fillies Classic, it was almost identical. So she's holding that form, holding that rating. And this was outstanding. This is A-grade form. Look at the 4 horses that's finished in behind her and what they've done since. Legato, who finished 4th, has won an Australian Guineas. The Intimidator, Mufasa Stakes last Saturday. Desert Lightning failed in the Derby, yes, I concede, but prior to that and post this race, won a Group 2 Avondale Guineas. So the form's just rich. It's the best 3-year-old race that's been performed on my database. So, and look, she's just bulletproof. I love how she can settle in a run. She can have that initial speed out of the machine to put herself in a prime position the first half a dozen in the race. As I say earlier on that speed map, I map her 1 out, 1 back. And she just brings that X factor. 52 kegs for Michael McNabb. I'd have to ask Aidan Rodley, as manager, if he'd ever got close to 52 kilograms, Michael McNabb, on race day. I can't remember that. So he's doing it tough this week, Michael, but the rewards might be there later on Saturday afternoon. And just on a small database around 3-year-olds that have run in this particular race, in the last 20 years, there's only been a handful. The last winner, you've got to go back to Excellent in 2005. Most recent Field of Gold last year, who underperformed in terms of betting expectation. You had Shuka, No Fear, Run Like Our in the last 10 to 15 years. But look, overall, a lot of them haven't been at the point end of the market. They've been roughly around that middle priced line, like the likes of Field of Gold and Shuka, etc. But yeah, look, I don't want to knock that a 3-year-old hasn't been that successful in this race in terms of recent history. And like I mentioned, you have to go back to 2005, Excellent, the last 3-year-old to win this race. Just the fact that there hasn't been that much data to make a proven effort to assess a 3-year-old. But look, she's a deserving fave. I think she closes fave, but outside that, there's probably not going to be too much between the 7 and the 8, the 8 and the 7 on the SPs.
Yeah, okay, Paul, I mean, if Prowess is going to win, she's going to have to get past a very talented mare in La Creek. And we saw the real La Creek last time. This was a great effort second up and goes in third up into the steps to 2000, so all that should suit.
Ideal, exactly. And she recorded the fastest last 200 metre sectional in the Wait for Age Classic as well, so she's travelling in the right direction. She had a super 3-year-old season last year, almost picking up the New Zealand Derby. She had back-to-back victories in the Desert Gold and the Avondale Guineas, and then she got the Group 1 glory in the Arrowfield, so it's going to be a lovely ding-dong battle. And with the smallish field, both of the favourites should get an even run at winning this race. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. She looks like she's set for this one, currently 280. As Steve said, initially took a wee bit of cash La Creek's way when the book opened, and I can understand why.
Yeah, no doubt. 3 into 280. That early move for La Creek, and she'll be primed for this.
Absolutely, there's no excuses on Saturday, La Creek. First up, Te Rapa, after they scratched her in the Thorndon Mile because of the wet track. The word out of the camp is that possibly she was looking for 1600 first up at Te Rapa in the BCD, where we know that's run over 7 furlongs. She was awkwardly positioned on the map. She was soft in the market. She ran accordingly, finishing midfield. Next start, up to the 1600, word out of the camp that she may have been wanting 2,000 metres, and she struck an off track. It rained right throughout the day. That race was obviously at the back end of the program, so again a negative around La Creek. On Saturday, if we get that 5, no worse than a 6, that's not an excuse. 2,000 metres, ideal for La Creek, weight for age. She's got no excuses coming Saturday. If she gets beaten, she'll get beaten on merit, I believe, out of the camp. And at $2.80 at the initial firm there, 310 into 280, but I think it's an overall settled market. Look,
You think the filly's definitely going to start favourite?
Yeah, I had her around about 34%, 100% market, Pro S, and then La Creek was roughly around that 28, 29. So give and take, not too much, but I just feel the overall profile Pro S, if you look at the weight adjustment from 55, 56 she's been carrying, albeit against her own age, dropping down to 52, and you work out roughly it's a length, 1.5 kilograms is a length, and on that score I've just got her in front of La Creek. And look, with La Creek, and we talk about those negatives in her first 2 runs, she's definitely been running below expectation. Look, the market wasn't there, as I mentioned, first up at Te Rapa, but if you go back to what she showed in the spring, as we mentioned, the Arrowfield Stud Stakes and the Mutta Mutta over 1,600 metres at Group 1, that was a clear PB, and it was roughly 2 or 3 lengths better or superior than what she's producing of late. So she'll just need to lift, and she's got everything working in her favour, La Creek, but just with the overall profile, Michael McNabb, we know punters are gravitating towards him. We've seen that in the last 3 to 4 weeks.
So.
Roger James, Wellwood stable. Price has been very firm in terms of SPs of late, in particular last start win. Just the algorithms around Pro S I've got a favourite, but there's not going to be too much between them.
No, fair enough. The other race we want to have a little look at, Paul, is the Herbie Dyke, because, not bad form when you're chasing home Sharp and Smart, and Campionessa in particular was very good this day and has been in red-hot form. Plenty of money for it too that day.
Yeah, there was, and just met a better horse on the day, but take nothing away from Campionessa. That was a gutsy run down the straight, head-to-head with Sharp and Smart. So $5 currently, and you can understand why. There's been a few nibbles there as well. Mark Walker trained Tiako once again. Here we go.
Yes,
it's a pretty easy formula at times. Another runner there, Asterix.
What do you make of it?
Well, obviously had a few problems in that race, but look, just forget that one.
Back right-handed?
Yes.
All its form right-handed? I just noticed that. Left-handed just hasn't gone as well in terms of right-handed. Obviously, he succeeded in the Derby right-handed. He won his only start this campaign right-handed. He lost a plate in the weight for age at Te Rapa, the Herbie Dyke last start, so that was a genuine excuse, but maybe he's a touch better right-handed.
Yeah, okay, 3 from 3 right-handed and hasn't struck left-handed. That is interesting around Asterix. BP, where are you sitting here, particularly amongst these 2 favourites, Pro S and La Creek, because they are both quality fillies or fillies/mares?
Yeah, they are. Apologies, boys.
Where are you? Oh, you're
Drowned rat now. But yeah, look, I actually do like La Creek in the race. I thought she was a horse who's looking for more distance. We know when she gets beyond a mile how good she can be. We saw that as a 3-year-old filly when she blew them away in the Avondale Guineas. So I think she's definitely now in that space where she's looking for more ground. And that last start run, I think, gave that indication too in the El Cheapo Cars Altaki weight for age, with how she was coming back at the line again on Levante when finishing into 2nd position. So again, she maps well. I think she's a horse that will be forward and running. True enough, as a horse that we know accelerates better over 1,600 metres or further, and he might be able to apply a little bit of pressure to the race with his front-running tendency, and we know that he's a Group 1 winner at weight for age. But, yeah, look, I was just in the camp of La Creek in front of Pro S. I don't actually have too much between them, and the market will tell you that as well. I heard you guys talking about Asterix. I think he is the smoky in the race. He's the one that I'm keen to have a couple of dollars each way on, and probably searching into that top 4 market. Just best forget his run last time to the races. We know when he last was up against La Creek. He was able to beat that horse in the New Zealand Derby last year. Just feel as though he's one of those horses, if you're trying to search for something in the race, he was that horse at $16 to win, and maybe a little bit of that top 3 and certainly top 4 market, where I think he's at that 220 mark.
Yeah, okay, nice. And yeah, there has been money for Asterix out there at $16, and you can understand that the potential around that runner is pretty high. Defibrillate, I'll get it out. Defibrillate, you've got to say it in 4 syllables. I think I've finally worked out. Deserve to be in the market here, guys. $7.50, got to be in play.
I thought it was a gun ride from Warren Kennedy last start. I know he didn't get the chocolates aboard Defibrillate, but there was that mid-race section where he was flushed 3 wide facing the breeze, and Warren Kennedy decided to push forward, lead, but didn't do it in a hurry. Gradually got to that leading position after about 200 or 300 metres from that mid-section where I say he was 3 wide. And he went at even tempo on the Herbie Dyke, and he boxed on well on a few horses that finished over top of him late. So, look, he's won right-handed, he's won at Weight for Age, he's won at Pukekohe. Look, he's got a few ticks to Defibrillate. I just think this time round they'll default to that last third around where Campanessa will map. Whether they make a mid-race move, I'm not sure this time round with the likes of Prowess, La Creek and True Enough. I think the overall map for the majority of the race will be quite settled, but yeah, look, I think they'll have to take off at some stage, but probably not as early as they did in the Herbie Dyke, and that gives an opportunity for Opie Bosson aboard Campanessa, who I think can stalk, Defibrillate. And just looking at Campanessa's sectionals, we saw it on footage there. Her last 400, 22 and change, was the 3rd fastest on the day. The only 2 horses that sat in front of her in terms of better sectionals was Imperatriz Levante at the BCD Sprint. So her last 400 was phenomenal. Her last 200 she wasn't slowing. 11:34 was the 4th fastest of the meeting. So she'll just need a pinch of luck, but I think Opie's best opportunity, not that I want to tell Opie what to do, but
Giving Opie instructions, this is good.
I think if he can follow and get that track in behind Defibrillate, that's the best opportunity for Campanessa. And look, she might be a low percentage player, as that she can be at the best of times of her map, but the small field will suit.
Okay, that's interesting.
Defibrillate. Right.
I hope you'll be taking notes. You know that. Yeah, exactly.
He'll be laughing at me.
Paul, summarise it for us. How would you attack the race from a betting standpoint in this year's Bone Crushing New Zealand Stakes?
I'm very much thinking along the same lines as BP. I really do like Asterix at the price, and as he said, 220 top 4, 320 top 3. But if I'm going to take a stab at out of the top 2, I'm going to go with Prowess. As we mentioned earlier on in the show, this 3-year-old class is just ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. BP, final thoughts here?
Yeah, look, with this rain falling, I think it brings Asterix into the race. He looks to be a bet at a bigger price, so he'll be my play. And certainly, as I said, looking at those top 3, top 4 markets, top selection in the race, I'll go La Creek just in front of Prowess and Asterix. They're sort of the 3 that I'm floating around with. But as an overall play, I think that top 3, top 4 market for Asterix is well worth looking into.
Yeah, okay. We'll be able to get some power plays going potentially with Asterix, Paul.
100%. Looking forward to them.
Yeah, okay. Steve, Prowess for you, just?
Yeah, there's no edge in the market. It's a very static market. I don't think there'll be a little or much change between now and race close. Just purely on the weight, 52 for a 3-year-old in a vintage year, I'll go with Prowess.
Okay, very good. Okay, guys, race number 5 on the cards. The next one we want to have a look at. Sistema Stakes, Group 1 for the 2-year-olds over the 1200. Steve, quite a dominant favourite here.
Just quite dominant. Deep into the red, which we predicted weeks out, Tokyo Tycoon. $1.55 was posted on Wednesday, snapped up by customers, now trading at $1.40. Overall summary in terms of turnover in the race. Thus far, we've turned over 25k. 24k is landed on number 1 Tokyo Tycoon. So he dominates the market. He dominates turnover. A lot of punters suggesting he will dominate the race come tomorrow afternoon. In front of Ethereal Start 420, then double figures Ulanova at 11, To Catch a Thief and Tulsi at 15 each of 2. Bella Ragazza at 31, he reigns, the Maiden at 51. But look, overall summary, Tokyo Tycoon best bet runner, not just in this race, but on the card comes Saturday afternoon.
Jeepers BP, pretty dominant. Only negative I can see around Tokyo Tycoon is they've had to find a replacement rider for Craig Zaki. He's gone back to South Africa.
Yeah, that's right. Gee, and they really had to go diving into the well to go and find their replacement jockey, didn't they? So, yeah, that's right. Tokyo Tycoon, I mean, 155. Some would say that was almost a spoil midweek because his price is now $1.40. I mean, rain doesn't matter. I mean, that was a really impressive win last time out to the races in the slipper. He showed that change-up speed that we spoke about in the Karaka Million with what he was able to do 2 starts ago. And he just breezed on by and put them to bed and look, beat the stablemate quite easily once again. Look, this is a different race again with the inclusion of those horses that he bumped into on the Karaka Million race, and that being Ulanova and Ethereal Star, but I mean, it's a smaller field. Why won't he just come up with the same result with what Craig Zaki was able to produce here and what was a pearl of a ride from him? Look, Ulanova's an interesting horse with what happened last time out in the Matamata Breeders. A, the track conditions, B, getting taken on. It just didn't work out for her in that race, and she finished well off them when finishing 4th in behind Zerion. But if she can find that position where she's comfortable in front and she's the only one there, well, she'll give a sight. We know that because she ran so well here. 3 starts ago in the Karaka Million, 2 starts ago a stakes winner was Ulanova. And Ethereal Star, she'll get through the conditions. If there's that good cut in the ground with this rain, if it continues to fall throughout the day that we're experiencing here at the moment out of Pukekohe Park. And look, a little freshened, good trial. The horse that had beat at the trials has come out and blazed them down at Wingatui last Saturday. Well, I think she is the horse to beat in terms of the second hardest in the race. And the market will tell you that. Her performances here at this venue on and off track, her run in the Karaka Million. So if there is to be a danger to Tokyo Tycoon, it certainly does look like it will come from the Andrew Forsman barn with Ethereal Star.
Yeah, look, looks a talented type, Ethereal Star. I think we've got footage of that trial. Pretty solid, and as BP said, the form franked out of the trial, Paul. Looks a talented type, whether it hasn't seen it since the Karaka Million 2-year-old, so a little bit of time out.
A little bit, yeah. And I thought the run in the creek probably got the run of the race in the Karaka Million, arguably Ethereal Star. But look, from that trial, looks ready to go again. And she was only, 3/4 a length off Tokyo Tycoon in the Karaka Million night. So there's certainly an argument to be had to have her in the sort of numbers somewhere. I just thought, could we make a case for the CD visitor? The Autumn Sun filly out of the John O'Benna Holly Wynyard stable?
Well, I think we've got that footage as well, as you've called for it. How did this race stack up, Steve? We'll come back to Ethereal Star in the favourite, but how did this race stack up from a numbers perspective?
Well, you see red there. I mean, again, to the 600, last 600, that's based on open class, but then it's normalised to class rating. It was a fraction below par. Not often do 2-year-olds rate through the roof when winning maiden races. Look, you've got to respect the stable, the Benno Wynyard stable, when they take young horses, juveniles or 3-year-olds to stakes races up north. They're not far off the mark. Look, she's a filly, a 2-year-old filly by the Autumn Sun out of a Lonhro mare. Whatever she does as a 2-year-old is a genuine bonus. I think she'll be a top 3-year-old. I won't have her in the mix on Saturday. I just think she's a bit raw, a bit early for all this coming about her. But look, I'm back to answer your question on figures. She's roughly 7 or 8 lengths inferior to what she produced over the hill, to what she needs to meet to beat number 1 Tokyo Tycoon. But look, there's a position there where she might get some black type finishing in behind Tokyo Tycoon. There's 2 other spots that you can get a Group 1 placing, and that's very valuable for a filly. So I can understand the reasons why taking her up there, but I reckon she'll be a smart 3-year-old. This might have come up a bit too soon to beat the likes of number 1.
Well, speaking of smart 3-year-olds, Steve, Ethereal Star does sort of scream potential 3-year-old, but certainly doing the job as well as a 2-year-old, and that trial was good.
Yeah, look, potentially she sits in front of Tokyo Tycoon. Blinkers added, which is an important gear change. Whether that costs her anything in terms of getting closer or even potentially beating Tokyo Tycoon, the Karaka Million, maybe not. But they've just added the blinkers on, because when she did hit the front, did she just slacken off a touch in the Karaka Million? That's a question that everybody will have a different opinion on. But look, as I mentioned, she'll sit in front of Tokyo Tycoon. The blinkers are added on. This looks to be her grand final. There's little money to suggest she's pushing forward to the size produce. Whether they made that final decision, I'm not too sure. Maybe post-Saturday we will know more around Ethereal Star. But the lack of money suggesting that this is her grand final before she's turned out and then targeted towards some nice 3-year-old late races here and across the ditch. But look, she's clear second pick. She almost picks herself in that second line, but yeah, I can't see her turning the tables with all luck being equal around Tokyo.
Yeah, and BP mentioned Ulanova, who was $1.70 favourite last start, had excuses.
You know, she's got a clean action, so I think back on the better surface. Matamata, it rained right throughout the day and leading up to Matamata Breeders / Slipper Day. And look, she'll run even fractions up front, which is good for the overall race in terms of finding out the best horse on the day. And as I mentioned, back on a better surface, she looks the leader. But just on numbers, you look at the Breeders, which she bounces out of, and she didn't win the Breeders, but it rated significantly lower than what the Slipper did on the same day out at Matamata, so that's a negative. She was beaten, I would have thought, fair and square in the in the Karaka Million. Has she improved? Possibly not. I thought New Plymouth on the eye was very good. I'm worried about the horses she bet on that day, and the numbers suggested that she just held her position or her figure to what she ran in the Karaka Million into 4th placing. But yeah, I'm sure the connection will just be watching what's unfolding up top and above around the clouds and the rain that's falling. Ideally, she wants this race run right now on a good form.
Yeah. Okay, BP. Well, we haven't mentioned To Catch a Thief, potentially one of the better maidens going around, but it's hard to get away from a fave here, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I like To Catch a Thief. I think he's a horse that has to be respected here. Again, a little bit like we spoke about when he was down to run and then he was scratched due to the track conditions. He's a possible play here in a small field for looking for top 3, top 4 markets. That's where I like him. I think he's a horse that, you know, you go through every single run that he's had in his 3 starts. You know, he's been bumping into Trobriand and Tokyo Tycoon. He has the right sort of form to say that he can be a chance. And the way that he was gathering up momentum in those couple of runs, of course, his first up run, he was slow away. He roared home into 4th position. If the track's not too bad and it can hang around that sort of 5, 6, 7 zone, and he's drawn Barry number 1, I think he has a chance to run in the money. I like him a lot, actually, To Catch a Thief. Yep, Tokyo Tycoon, he picks himself, doesn't he? But if I was looking for the value chance in the race, To Catch a Thief to run through maybe like even an exacta or a power play and those sort of markets.
Yeah, exactly. Power plays from To Catch a Thief has been good. So BP with the favourite, obviously, with that dazzling turn of foot we've seen from Tokyo Tycoon. But To Catch a Thief is valued $15. Paul, surmise the race. How are you attacking it?
Well, it's very, very hard to look past Tokyo Tycoon, isn't it? I'm sure Steve will have a couple of notes for Opie to take into the race.
Well, you're going to know Craig Zaki, so yeah.
So, I guess if you look like BP, then you're looking for an exacta with either someone like an Ethereal Star or To Catch a Thief. I think the exacta with Ethereal Star was 260. The exacta Tokyo Tycoon with To Catch a Thief was 950. So not the worst.
No.
But yeah, I guess we're just putting Tokyo Tycoon in a whole lot of our multis on Saturday.
Yeah, it's the lack of money for the second favourite that's concerning me too. We just haven't seen that push for Ethereal Star. I thought we might have seen a little bit more.
I just think that's because of the dominance that Tokyo Tycoon has shown in the short career so far.
Yeah, dazzling turn of foot, this favourite, Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to be excited.
Slipper as well.
I won't be having a bet in the race, but gee, I'm going to be excited watching this because this Tokyo Tycoon might be top draw and one of the better 2-year-olds we've seen the last decade. He's 4 from 4. I don't think too many horses have won the Karaka Million and won the Group 1 Sistema. I could be wrong, and then also winning the Matamata Breeders.
It was a banana skin race. It's been a banana skin race, that Slipper after a
Karaka winning all 3 of them. It hasn't been done very often from memory. So look, it's not a triple crown or anything. And again, up in there where this horse heads post this race, win or lose, there isn't a huge amount of money to suggest it's all fire blazing for a Sires in 2 weeks' time. So we'll just keep an eye on what that market does. But back to Saturday, just for a racing purist, I'm really looking forward to it and hoping he can put a job on this field and keep doing what he's doing.
100% exciting galloper as Tokyo Tycoon, $1.40 and dominating that Sistema Group 1 over the 1,200 metres. Race number 9, gentlemen, is the Barfooted Thompson Auckland Cup over the 3,200 metres. Group 2, Steve, run us through this market.
Yeah, Equiquade, who's been favourite, obviously in final field, but in futures betting for weeks on end leading into this assignment. And look, she's a $2.70 shot. That's the original price. I think her closing price in terms of all-in betting was roughly around that $2.40, $2.50 mark. $2.70 posted final field on Wednesday in front of Ladies Man, who has been a firmer, 420 into 380. Nerve Not Verve just brings a different form line, different angle from Australia, 750 out of turn to 8. Dionysus, 850 out to 9. A couple they've played in this middle market, Thaddeus. Lincoln King, 12 into 10. Opie Boss and Stephen Marsh factor. Leaderboard, always well played during the working week leading up to race day, 18 to 15. Platinum Invader, 26 into 18, also a firmer. So 3 horses there have been well identified, the middle market. Then best of the rest is Dunhill, Soprano, Supreme, 31 each of 2. Overall summary, look, no strong lead. What I'm saying is that Aquacade, yes, punters prepared to take the 270, but there's 3 or 4 they're willing to take on the favourite, one of them being Ladies Man in that second line.
Yeah, okay, BP, look, Aquacade, been favourite for a while, but if there'll be a few nice futures tickets out there, but obviously the form we need to be having a look at, and there's plenty to digest, is that Avondale Cup.
That's right. I mean, there's a lot of horses here that, the winner, and horses in behind can play a fairly serious part in tomorrow's Barfoot and Thompson Auckland Cup. Look, Aquacade, I guess the question mark for everybody out there is the 3,200 metres, but that's a question mark for quite a few other horses in this race. Yes, we have horses like Ladies Man and Lincoln King and Dionysus, and Leaderboard, obviously, that have 3,200 metre form, and Roger that. And she doesn't have that next to her name. Boy, the way that she wins this race and the way that she races certainly gives us all indications that this 4-year-old mare is going to have no problem going the extra distance, but we don't know. Look, to be honest with you, she's 53 kilos. She's beautifully placed. She's taken all before her this preparation. I was a little surprised that the 270 came up around Aquacade, considering how short the horse was in your futures markets, but I'm guessing it was such a big liability at the bigger price that she was posted in those markets is where I guess things are sitting there with Aquacade, with where she was from futures to where she now sits in the final field. But there's a number of good chances out of that race. I think horses like Henny Parter really did put her hand up. She raced well in the Wellington Cup last time to the races. If you read the race book, it'll tell you she didn't. But boy, she certainly ran a lot better than what you read in the race book, beating stragglers 5 lengths off them when finishing ninth. I thought it was a really good run in the Wellington Cup. And then she's backed it up with how she's run into second position here. A little bit of rain about, won't be an issue for her. And Ladies Man, well, Ladies Man really did put his hand up last week, didn't he, when winning the Nathan's Memorial. He's a horse that will get through any type of track condition. This track gets to a 7, somewhere around that mark, no issue. Look, we know he's a horse that will go through any type of track, and he was super, I thought, with how he won in the Nathan's Memorial, to say, look, this is not all about Aquacade. I'm a pretty serious danger, and I think off the back of how he's won this race, I think he is the biggest danger to Aquacade, and hence why we've seen him move around him. So, yep, Aquacade's backable at 270, but if you're not liking that and you have your question marks, I think there's a number of different angles you can dive into for today, for this year's Auckland Cup.
There's no doubt about that, Paul. I know you're an Alan Sherrick fan, and why wouldn't you be, to be fair?
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. He gets the chocolates more often than not. It looks like Ladies Man's been set for this.
Yes, and probably couldn't quite get to the best part of the track in that Wellington Cup run when he needed to. But the wins either side of the Wellington Cup run were very, very good. And as you say, Al Sharrock will have him ready to go here. So you can understand why the money's come, 420 into 380. BP was talking about 2 mile experience. Well, we've got the last 2 Wellington Cup winners in the race here, and Lincoln King and Leaderboard. And I see we've taken a bit of cash on Lincoln King, 12s into $10. Look, we get Opie on. Big tick.
Big tick.
I know he's no Craig Zaki, but no. We do. We get Opie. And I thought that was a great dress rehearsal, the run in the Avondale Cup as well.
It's a nice run for third, wasn't it?
Very, very nice run. So I expect Lincoln King to be there or thereabouts as they come around the turn in the Auckland Cup. I don't mind the look of Nerve Not Verve. Back from Australia. Adds a wee bit of spice, another layer of flavour. Here we have her in the, what was this? Was this the 26 at the Chairman's?
Nice.
Yeah. And so this run would also suggest the 2 miles won't be a factor at all. So, yeah, I just love I've got her in my numbers.
Okay.
Well, look
I
at the
do.
horse that she bet. Knight's Order. Knight's Order, post this, 2
Won a
weeks
Sydney
after,
Cup,
won the
didn't it?
Sydney Cup,
Yeah.
run third in the Caulfield Cup. If she brings anywhere near that form, she's got to be a top 2 chance.
Won't remind of that bit of rain that's falling behind BP
Won't mind a
there
bit of
either.
rain. There looks to be not that much speed up front. I think from barrier 12, Jake Bayliss will show intent and go forward. She has that initial tactical speed to put herself in a race. Look, she's a horse. She's a very big, gross mare, and quite often she'll take at least 3 or 4 runs to get to the level of where she peaks. She's had 3 runs this time in 16, 18. I think her last start was over 2,500 when running second at the Valley and behind Swords Drawn, an ex-Kiwi. But look, she was having to give that horse weight on that occasion. She loves this time of the year, the autumn. She never comes up in the spring. Her stats in the spring are horrible, nerve not verve, which mares can be. They can be quite seasonal, but she loves this time of the year, around that autumn. I know out of the camp, post this, she's heading back to Sydney to defend her chairman's crown and the Sydney Cup. And they reckon, from the word from out of the camp, is that Pam reckons she hasn't seen this horse any better from when it left New Zealand to go over to Australia 3 or 4 seasons ago. So it's hard to determine where her SP is. Obviously, she was dangling out the double figures when futures closed, and she opened or reopened at 750 in FF betting. But it's hard to know. Obviously, there's that Aussie profile which we touch on quite often that will make her quite firm in the last 5 to 10 minutes of trading. But yeah, I just don't know where that SP is going to lie. But again, if she just brings 90% of that form that she showed this time last year in the Chairman's, she's got to be in the top 2. Got to be in the top 2 in terms of a conversation.
Okay, what about Ladies Man, Steve? Because there's been a push there, and that win in the Nathans was strong.
Yeah, look, I think I've worked this horse out in terms of track conditions. You go back its first year or so, it was running on wet tracks and it built up that stat line. You look at paper form, it's had 9 starts on a heavy track for 3 wins and 4 placings. But just in the last 12 months, I've just noticed, in particular this campaign, the times he's been beaten was a Maiden Cup where he was an odds-on favourite Trentham on a soft track. Then the Wellington Cup, which was a genuine heavy, he was an even money fave, he got beaten. His 3 wins surrounding those 2 failures have been on good tracks, and he's put those fields away and produced a nice speed rating. I think this horse is looking for better surface. I think if I owned this horse and I was Alan Sharrock, I don't like this rain. I do not like this rain. I'd want it anywhere around that 4 or 5 pentrometer reading. I know BP thought maybe 7. Look, he's no dud, and he'll probably race better than most on a 7. But I reckon to get the best out of him, we want that 4 no worse than a 5 around Ladies Man.
Okay, that's interesting. BP, Aquacade, Ladies Man. Look, they're backing them proven 2-milers here early, and that is Lincoln King and Leaderboard. So not a surprise, I guess you could say.
No, and that's exactly the reason that we spoke about just before, that they're the horses that have been there and pushed through that pain barrier to get to 3,200 metres where Aquacade hasn't quite done that. But what she does have in her favour is that she comes in with a weight of 53 kilograms. Look, if you are looking elsewhere, and I think it could be a race where you look elsewhere, and if the rain hangs about, look, there are 2 horses that I wouldn't mind having something on. It's definitely Hinny Parter, with how the horse ran second last time out in the Avondale Cup. She just produced a really strong run from back in the field. On that occasion, it was a good force surface, but we know she won't mind that little bit of cut in the ground. Hinny Parter, of course, last year's Avondale Cup winner, Ashwin Gundasamy aboard. I tell you what, I'm going to have a little something on Dunhill, runner number 9 at a big price, $26. He may not get any win money from me, but he certainly will be going into a trifecta, a first 4. He looks like a type that'll run all day over 3,200 metres. He comes into this race with a very good win where he blew them off the track in the Invercargill Cup over 2,600 metres. So he gets 3,200 metres. Rain, I actually thought initially he was a real genuine weak tracker when following him through the early part of his career down there. So if you're looking for a roughie, Jasmine Fawcett riding well, the southerner from the Tyler barn, and Dunhill could run some sort of race. I'm trying to work out who the leader is. That's going to be very hard because I know that there's going to be an early crow market. May not be as easy as it was for the Derby last week with Opawa Jack as your early crow. So it might be needing a bit of work to be done there just to try and work out who's going to be the early crow leader, another way of trying to bet into the race.
Yeah, I know we're going to have a look at that market as soon as we get out of here, and it'll be open this afternoon, that early crow
Is that why you
market.
didn't put a speed map up? Is that why?
You're saying it's tactical.
Yeah.
Steve's kept it back.
He's keeping his cards.
I just don't reckon he could work it out.
No, I just can't work it out, to be honest.
Pops, so Aquacade or Ladies Man for you, or something else to win the race?
Aquacade, yep. Aquacade for me. I mean, she's the horse that's tracking superbly into the race. I think Ladies Man will give her the biggest fright with how he performed last time out. And I'm looking at those top threes, top fours around Dunhill and maybe even a bit of Hinipata. And I'm not disrespecting horses like Lincoln King, Dionysus, and even Leaderboard. Gee, Leaderboard will be hoping it just keeps tipping down over the next 12 hours, because that's what brought him into the Wellington Cup over 3,200 metres. Gee, if it does hang around, well, why wouldn't he be a chance again from his Wellington Cup victory to go into the Auckland Cup? So, yeah, a number of different variables if you're not liking Aquacade, which I think is good for the race, the Barfoot and Thompson Auckland Cup, our biggest money race out of the day at that Group 2 level.
Yeah, good point. $500,000 for the Auckland Cup. Paul, final thoughts before we move on to the last race we're going to spot today?
I love Move Not Verve at the price.
Steve's going to be with you then.
Yeah, and I see a little bit of a drift, 750 out to 8. I really do. I think sets up very, very nicely for this race. Won't mind the rain. Yeah. Oh boy, I'm really feeling. I'm feeling very confident.
You're in for a big day tomorrow.
It'll be a big day.
Whether you make any money is another thing. Yeah, okay. You've not Verve, Steve, you think?
Yeah, I'm assessing this race is that I can't see any horse turning the tables on Aquacade in the Avondale Cup. I understand Lincoln King. Off a hot tempo, they ran 12 lengths above par to the 600, ran the fastest last 200 of the race, just 2 miles. Tickets, won a Wellington Cup, yes. But Aquacade was so dominant off that hot tempo, I think she will get the 2 miles. Similar weights to what she found herself in the Avondale Cup. So for her to get beat, I think it's a different form line. That's Ladies Man and Nerve Not Verve. Okay. So they're the 3 horses I have in the mix. Okay, very good. Looking forward to the Barfoot and Thompson Auckland Cup tomorrow afternoon. Last race we're going to have a look at, gentlemen, Pukekohe, race number 4. That's the Royal Descent Stakes, Steve, over the 1,600 metres for the fillies and mares. Yeah, strong betting race, high turnover. And the top 4 or 5 all had friends at different stages since we opened on Wednesday. Dragon Queen, Carmen Line, 320 each of 2. Dollar for dollar between those two, so a nice betting contest between 1 and 7, a genuine arm wrestle. Clever Ruds, well back this morning, 6 into 5. Cool Change, 9 into 7. So the top 4 have all had, as I mentioned, decent interest in the first 2 to 3 days. St. Alice at $7, Lana Cord $21, and Finest Wine, who's first up, no money, suggests watch out, second, third up, 16 out to 21. So look, overall summary, no strong lead on one certain individual, but the top 4 in the market have been well found. Gee, Dragon Queen was good last time, BP and Elisa Chittick, but this is an even market and there are plenty of chances here.
There are. I actually don't mind the second horse in this race, and Clever Ruds. Now, this is a horse who was only just beaten on the line here by Dragon Queen over the 1,400 metres. What you get with Clever Ruds, no issue with 1,600 metres. The fact that the track condition might have the bite out of it as well, and we know that she can sit up on speed. Terrific run when running 4th in the Thorndon Mile 2 starts ago from this horse in Clever Ruds. Dragon Queen, yep, got the job done there, and a winning performance that we've been looking for from her for quite some time, since she was able to win the Westbury, of course, on Karaka Million Night 2022 out of Ellerslie. It was a tricky race though, wasn't it? I mean, Carmen Line, do you want to go again on Carmen Line? She's been a heartbreaker, a very big heartbreaker, because I thought she had a chance to win last time to the races here when beaten by GC. Look, GC got the right run and came underneath horses, but at the same time she was presented at around about here when GC had that clean enough run through them, but you were just waiting for it to explode. You were waiting to see what we had seen from her as a 3-year-old last year when she was placed in the Karaka Classic, for instance. The 3-year-old Karaka Million Classic out of Ellerslie. So, yeah, that would be my only question mark. Obviously the form's good with that third horse there rocketing home in Bad and Bouge, who came and got the job done in an undercard race on Derby Day, but I don't know. I just don't know how to line up Carmen Line. Maybe the fact that I've lost on her the last couple of times is probably affecting my judgment here on her being a winning chance in this race. Quite possibly I'm getting a little bit clouded there with that loss. But yeah, I do like Clever Ruds. I thought Clever Ruds was a chance off the Thorndon Mile performance 2 starts ago.
BP, they've thrown a few things at you today. The rain, obviously, but now they've got the sounds like they've got the weed eater or the leaf blower coming at you.
Maybe they could do a job on that haircut.
You are correct. You are correct. I only just heard you telling me that, to be honest with you. So, yes, you are bang on the money.
Okay, they're testing your patience out there today, BP. Look, Carbon Line brings a different, the up-and-comer against maybe the mares that have been there, done that. And
I'm willing to give her another go.
Yeah, well, this is okay.
Once again, it'll depend on the track, though. I don't think she's got any form on a heavy. I think if it stays in that...
it's not going to be heavy. We're thinking at worst maybe a 7, but hopefully, come midway through the day, it's bordering on that 5, and that's no knock.
Look, and I thought she's just started to pick up again over that last 50. Like BP, I was waiting for her to go boom as the gap opened, a furlong out, and she just looked like she hit a wee bit of a flat spot, but I'm willing to give her another go. She'll be better for that run as well. And I just, over that last 50, 25 metres, I just saw her start to pick up again. So
I feel like she's sort of an ambush mare. Like she's got to fox them and give them one last crack. Maybe almost got out a bit soon. Carmen Line looks like she's got an explosive turn of foot when she's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And hopefully we see that on Saturday.
Okay, and what about the Peter and Dawn Williams pair, Paul? Cool Change, St Alice, bit of money for both, to be fair, and they're both in commission, I would have thought. Yeah,
I like St Alice, what drops back to the 1,600 metres, but that's a distance that she likes. Forget the last run, I think the saddle slipped.
Probably a good effort.
A very, very good effort, considering the problems that she had. So, yes, St Alice at the $7 mark, I think is definitely worth a go. And I see we have taken a wee bit of cash the way of Cool Change now into $7 as well.
Money's well spread here, Steve, let's be fair.
Yeah, it is. A little bit of a question mark around the overall form in Lisa Chittick. It rated horribly, over 4 lengths below par. They ran slow to the 600 and they ran home the last 600 well below par too. So I think around Dragon Queen, I'll be taking a slight set against it. I know OP Boston's there, that will attract money. But the 1,600 metres, I just think is a slight negative around Dragon Queen against this company. I think her sweet spot 7 furlongs, 1,400, which she found at Matamata last start. And knowing that the speed rating was horrible, I'm willing to take a set against number 1. I'm with Carmen Line. I think she's one of the better milers in this race. I think it's crucial when you're assessing this race, look for the genuine mile horses v the 1,400 metre horses. And I think Carmen Line, she is one of the stronger horses that will be at 1,600 metres in this race. I think she's ready to hit a PB. She's had the odd dramas this time in. I think she missed the float heading to Hawke's Bay, so she had an extra 2 weeks without a run. This may be the best time that she's been presented this time in. I mean, she's only had 4 runs since the start of October, so her runs have been spaced for different reasons, but I just feel there's just a sense of timing here where she can hit a PB this time in Carmen Line. I've got her as the top pick in the race. Okay. But I'm wary about number 3, Clever Ruds. I know it comes out of the race I'm speaking about in terms of a weak form line, the Lisa Chittick, but I just think she gets a default lead here. There's no speed outside Clever Ruds, and she is proven in a mile. So take the set against 1. I'll be speaking the 3 and the 7, the 7 and the 3.
Okay, BP, you're going to go to the well one more time around Carmen Line, and is there anything else rough that we need to have in our first fours, 18 plus here in this race, the Royal Descent?
Look, I'm going to have a bet on Clever Ruds. I really do think she's a bet in the race. I like the fact that she'll get a little bit of forgiveness in the ground. She'll find her position that she loves, and she's a really hard horse to beat when she is in front. She's won twice over 1,600 metres. She's run 4th in a Group 1 over 1,600 metres. Look, as we know, it was won by He's a Doozy. 2nd was Sharp and Smart in that particular race. She wasn't that far off them in that race when finishing 4th. So if she was not too far off a horse who's come out and won a derby, I really do think she's a bet in the race at $5. Happy to have something around Clever Ruds. Look, I find it tricky to try and work out the roughies because you've got a big spread in the ratings here, you know, from Dragon Queen, who's the rating 88 horse, and you've got some rating 65 horses in here who are just tough to try and get a true line on. So, yeah, look, I haven't got any roughies that I'd be looking to try and play around with top 3, top 4s. Look, Cascatel is a horse I'm going to finally get on when it finds the right rating 65, goodness me, it keeps flying home in those sort of races after missing the start, that will pick up a rating 65. I'm not sure if it's winning the Royal Descent Stakes tomorrow, but it's a horse I will keep following over the next few starts. But yeah, Clever Ruds is the one that I'll be having something on.
Yeah, okay, nice. We can put Cascatel in our little back pocket for a little bit later. Paul, final thoughts?
Calm in line, thank you. Yep.
Done. Okay.
Especially if BP's jumping off.
Yeah, this is it. He's finally off the wagon.
Yeah.
This is a
He'll
chance.
regret it.
You're going to make him pay in this year's Royal Descent Stakes. Good luck, boys. Okay, best bet time, gentlemen. We'll come back to you, Pops. Where did you land for this week's best bet?
Look, I do like the last race of the day. It's an open race, and I'm going with a horse who's drawn in barrier number 18, but it is going to get some scratchings because a few on the ballot are drawn inside it. And Astron, I mean, this horse broke 11 seconds for the last 200 out of Awapuni. It was an extraordinary run. I mean, it's just run the arms off the clock. It was getting home that fast in that race out of Awapuni when finishing into third position. He gets 1,600 metres. He gets a big wide open track, so if he's not too far off them, look, he was a mile off them in that 1,400 metre race. If you're watching him in isolation, you would have thought he would be lucky to beat half the field home at the 400 metre mark. And as close as he did, he was probably 2 hops away from winning the race. I think he's a really nice horse. I'll go with Astron in race number 10.
I like it. Paul, where'd you go?
I'm sticking at Pookie as well. And I'm going to race 2, the Jamison Park 1200, and I like the look of number 8 In Ecstasy. 11? This was her winning 11 months ago. It's a long time between drinks, but she's an Exosphere mare, and they usually take a little while to grow into themselves. And she's been prepped for this with a very, very nice trial. Yeah, she looks ready to go. I think Cody Cole has got her ready to go. And I see we've already had a wee bit of a drift. Opened up at 450, now at to 550.
Ooh, you'll be striking shortly. Steve, best bet for you this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to head to Trentham, local stamping ground. Sans Duke, very impressed with his last start win at Te Rapa. It was 3 wide on speed before producing a high speed rating of 3 lengths above par. The form is stacked up post this race with Master Brutus finishing second in Mufasa Stakes last weekend. I like how the campers kept this filly left-handed. I think it's a big positive. On my assessment, she's got lengths on this field. It's a small field, and I've made her my best bet. And not often do I do that in terms of horses trading in the red. I think last time I checked $1.85, but I think she starts close to $1.50, $1.60 now. That's a 10% difference in terms of disparity to where I think she starts to where she's trading. I've got her the best of the day, Sans Duke. Okay,
very good. We've got a minute, boys, for the wrap-up. Paul, run us through what we've got. The Twitter poll, I presume?
Yeah, we've got the Twitter poll. Once again, you guys know what to do. The 4 runners this time, Prowess, Calico, Zugotcha, and Right You Are. If you leave a comment, you'll go in the draw to win a $100 bonus bet. Last week's winner at Cam_Town.
Camtown.
Camtown, yes indeed. I also got the bonus back blitz, the first 4 races at Pukekohe, Trentham, Rosehill and Flemington. We've got the do-it-yourself power plays on the Auckland Cup.
Yes.
So check them out. The boys have also put together a number of novelty markets on the Auckland Cup, and I'm told the early crow should be out there later on this afternoon.
Yeah, I'll go and rattle the dags around that one. But there'll be plenty in that Auckland Cup to have a look at, and some boosted odds all day. So get onto the Twitter poll, have a vote, and or leave a comment and have a vote, and go into the draw to win a $100 bonus bet. We're a bit of run out of time, so we'll thank Brendan in his absence, and we'll look forward to seeing him on course at Pukekohe tomorrow. Thanks, boys. Enjoy your Auckland Cup day or Bone Crusher day, Paul.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. It's a great card.
Yeah, it is an excellent card. Thanks, Steve, for your efforts as always.
Thanks, Thaddeus.
Yep, and we'll see you in 7 days' time. Thanks for your efforts and joining us once again. We'll see you in 7 days' time on The Leg Up.